Well, hello everyone, and this is Scary Mail. I am finishing what's time for school, and it's quite interesting how many people, well, actually children, is not going to school. About 75 million children can't go to school in the world. That's a lot. And just the idea behind it is kind of sad because school is very fundamental in our society and a lot of actually in society, and it just pains to think about how much kids are missing out on these things, but not because of, well, some of them are because of tradition and also because of situation going in the country, but you always think that all the children that people have, they really want them to have a better life than what they have right now. But that is not like so in some countries. Like, for an example, in India, where a lot of the tradition is sometimes getting in the way of schooling because they believe that school is not really helpful in their community or culture. That if they do send kids to school, that they're never going to really use them in day-to-day activity. And it's on a clip of it of a reason why, like, for one is farming, chores, help around the house and providing for the family comes first before school. They actually had, before I had to go to night school just to get an education. Until recently, everything just changed over to day school. But it's quite interesting, especially for girls there too, because one of the tradition it was young girls had to marry as soon as possible. And that seemed kind of awkward. That all of a sudden this young girl had to age of 15 or younger getting married. Anyway, but other stuff that is more shocking, like the school in Afghanistan, where even though men get the education and all that, the ladies there and girls there are not treated very well. In matter of fact, there's a war with the Taliban fighting against girls going to school, which is pretty sad, but at the same time, it is also the culture that kind of enforced this upon them. Because, for an example, they say in the video is boys don't have to do housework, which I kind of think is kind of nice. But that the girls have to do all that, and that they think that men should be running everything while girls just stay at home and help provide for the guy, pretty much. And I wouldn't like that kind of society, because at the same time it's like, even though I might be superior than them in that culture, still we need ladies to help even us in our culture to help us to do the right decision and right choices as well. So there is this fact of I cannot say the word. Kind of disappointing, really, that people still think now these days in their culture that men to do everything and while the ladies do nothing except for cleaning up or providing for the guy. Whereas in Brazil, and you have to admit, some of these kids, I'm very impressed because the kids are trying to get a learning education, even when circumstances force them not to. So, you do want to hope that those kids can get out of poverty and be able to make a better life for themselves. For example, like in Brazil, like this kid they talked about in Brazil, I'm kind of hoping that he still succeed in getting an education, or otherwise, like him and many others in the slums of Brazil, will pretty much go work for people drug trafficking or gun wars, and just have no success or chances of making a better life for themselves, really, because most of the kids there, they are saying that after 4 years of education, they usually drop out and usually don't pursue anymore, and that's a challenging thing because the only thing they can really look to even earning something or making a life of themselves is manual labor or drug trafficking. And just it's kind of sad to think about how 2 out of 3 kids in that area alone will be a dropout. That's a lot of kids. But in comparing to like another culture like Japan, I think it's crazy. Having your kids start an education after a year old, that's very strict on the kids and education and all that. Even though recently they said that now they are making it less strict on them by giving them even a Saturday to have a day off from school, which is kind of amazing to think that some countries are very strict on schooling. Have to go the 6th day out of the 7 days, and I don't know how long of the hours they had to stay at school to learn, but I'm thinking close to like maybe 10 hours. Even though school is very important, I think that's putting that a little bit too strict in my taste. But it also shows how good some of the kids are educated wise, how much knowledge they do have. It's just with this whole idea of how the United Nations is trying to get primary education around the world is a great goal, but I think it's going to be a lot longer than what they expected by 2015, because, or this year, in matter of fact, because there's so much kids that it's hard for any kind of government to try to get them into school. Well, some countries, they are trying to force like girls or boys not to even get an education and just say education is not needed for them. And that's a lot of what I really thought about watching after this video, and it made me impressed at how important we are lucky in the United States to get an education, even when we all don't like it or it's a pain in the rear, but it also helped to show to me that we are a lot more blessed than what a lot of people realize or even think about. It's certain I didn't even thought about it, but I think an education is very important to the world in order to try to get out of poverty and try to get out of a lot of these situations where countries are really suffering because they need education in order to strive to have their country to do better. And I will see you all later, and until next time, see ya.